Yeah, so Stockholm, and it's 2 o'clock, and the sun is shining outside. It's freezing cold, but it's nice weather for Stockholm. And yet we choose to sit here and stand here and talk about the three fictions. That must be because there's something that we need to discuss or need to delve into a little bit more and see what is actually fictions and what is illusions. In this case, I have called the overall framework of my work the illusion on Denmark. That means that, or the Danish illusion, that means that I've taken a point. I'm a Dane, I live in Denmark, and I've taken that viewpoint to look out into the world. And what I find when I look otherwise, when I look into Sweden or to, in particular, the UK and in particular the US. When I do that, I find the same tricks to trick the people. And of course, the UK and the USA is very much at the core of this huge construct we can call the deep state. It's a misleading construct, but I think technocracy is an even better term. But if we take the term deep state, the UK and the US is central to this. So for me to describe this, I take a Danish standpoint, the illusion on Denmark, and when I want to tell other Danes, that was my first mission, to actually describe to other Danes how they were being illusionized, how the illusion were being cast upon them. Then I thought there's three different areas here which is more important than the others. And these three areas, I think, is the democratic fiction, the legal fiction, and the economic fiction. Because these three, everybody understands them or have a somewhat understanding of what these areas are including, and also the most people can fathom that the three areas, economic, legal, and democratic, that they're interrelated somehow. They cannot entirely document how the relation is, but they know there's a relation. When government uses money and make laws and take freedom away from the people, it's related somehow. And most people can spell lobbyist and say, you know, it's the lobbyist, it's the weapon manufacturers, the lobbyist from the weapon manufacturer, or it's the vaccine manufacturers, the lobbyist of the vaccine manufacturers who makes these laws come through, which takes away liberty, which takes away freedom from the people. Most people can spell that, but how to actually show them a framework where they can, no matter whether you live in Denmark or in Sweden, can actually explain this to others. And that was my thinking behind this. Whether I'm succeeding in this, time will show. Whether you will be able to use this framework and to give it on to other people, to explain to them. That's actually a democratic fiction, because in Sweden we have 5 different constitutions, which is a weird thing. I mean, in Denmark we have 1 constitution. In Sweden you have 5 constitutions. That was a surprise for me to look into. So when you have this framework, and when you have these, let's say, stepping stones to explain this to other people, I hope that would have made it easier for you to explain this illusionary state that most people in the population is in, and be successful in painting the picture. You know, the other approach I've seen is that people explain something about someone which they have seen on YouTube, and they're eager to share links, and often it's a 2-hour or 5-hour show or something like that. And you know, most people just don't have the time to delve into a subject which they might not fancy so much, because when you tell people that they're living in an illusionary state, it's not necessarily a positive message actually you are bearing through to them. So So it's difficult to get them and watch a YouTube. I hope it's easier to actually explain how this democratic fiction, legal fiction, and economic fiction is in reality. So let's visit the first one, the democratic fiction, with no further ado. So in Denmark we have a constitutional monarchy, we have representative democracy, and some might say, that might be me, that reality is actually something else. This is the same for Sweden. We have a constitutional monarchy and we have representative democracy according to the narrative. It's the same for the UK. It's not entirely the same for the US, since they don't have anything to do with the monarchy. The story is slightly different. There's a lot of the same tricks and other things, twists done to the narrative. So the effect is essentially the same, that a deep state is working behind the lines, stealth operation. That means it's unseen, we cannot really see it, and it's hard for someone like me who have seen it, I think so, that I have, to explain it to others. So by stealth, that's how it's done. So most countries, when you look into their constitutional state, when you look into how they're actually operating, you find a lot of buts, you find a lot of does it really work like this? Does it really say like this in the Constitution? So let's start. We want to, because I'm in Sweden now, I want to make it relevant for you Swedes, of course, but I do have limited time. So is this on actually?
Yes.
Good. I do have a limited time, so even though we are looking into the state of Sweden, most examples will be examples I know from Denmark, but there will be quite a few and powerful examples on Sweden. So the illusion is, Sweden has a popular government and a well-functioning democracy. A popular means that it's actually the population that elects people who is in the government. The people have the power. That's what the narrative tries to tell us. The monarch, the king, is a figurehead with a rubber stamp. It's a ceremonial figure. That's what's the official explanation is. The king is only a ceremonial figure. Yesterday we talked about what the king who is out of the Bernadotte dynasty is in Sweden, because when we go back to the Napoleon and the time after Napoleon, how Bernadotte came to power in Sweden, it shows that it was actually the nobilities in Sweden that hired on the Bernadottes and have let Bernadotte keep the formal power, and then have the, you can say, the lobbyist, the Wallenbergs, who is a front office of Rothschild. I won't go into that right now. I did that yesterday. Sorry to people who is following the video, because that was in Swedish, so that might not be for everybody's best understanding. But anyway, we talked a lot about how the Rothschild, the Hambros, and the Wallenbergs actually took over the Nordic countries back in the 1800s yesterday, so we won't look into that. But that's actually that's the facts. That's how it works. That's how Sweden works. The nobilities back then in the 1950s put in the Bernadotte's dynasty. They have been the king family since then. They work in close operation with Wallenberg. Actually, Wallenberg family is the king's bank family. So even there, the relationship is quite official and quite close. The Wallenberg, of course, is a dynasty which is involved in nearly all areas of Swedish industry. The monarch works hard for the people, so that I don't know in Sweden, but in Denmark the the colored press is filled up with a lot of stories about the royals. Of course, some of them are a bit nagging to the royals, like posing questions to this monarchy. But at the same time, mostly what they're doing is to propping up the monarchy, the royal house, as if it's such a fairy tale, great country to live in, when we have a monarchy which is so loved by its people and so loved by people abroad. And while I'm saying this, I don't dislike the people in the royal house or in the royal family. Not in Denmark and not in Sweden. It's not like I have a disdain or otherwise don't like them as persons. Actually, the Danish king, he's the same year as me. I'm born in 1968. We did military service at the same time. I was a sergeant within the military police. I had several occasions where I was actually security for the king, the now king, and his brother. I've always liked him. I've always thought that it was a hard destiny to be born into, and with the knowledge I have today, I really feel sorry for this guy. Even though he has all the Rolexes and all the houses and all the cars and that you can ask for, he is much more a slave to the system than I am myself. So I feel sorry for him, and that of course also counts for the rest of the people in the royal houses, both in Denmark and in Sweden. But we're being portrayed a family that works hard for the people and earns a lot of money through this royal marketing of Sweden and of Denmark, sort of a marketing thing. So we get billions and billions of contracts back to the Danish and Swedish industry because of these royal families' activities. So when they arrive on their fancy boats to a foreign destination where everybody's going like, wow, and then buying a lot of Swedish and Danish furnitures and weapons and whatnot. Isn't that great? Most people believe this. Yeah, we can only laugh about it. There's virtually no corruption in the country. Why are you laughing? Okay. This laugh will stiffen in a minute when I will show you that Sweden is one of the least corrupt countries in the world, so I don't know what you're laughing about. You keep laughing. Sweden has free and independent media, of course. Hence we are sitting here in a basement and not being too loud. What will the neighbors say? Oh yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? So what is the reality? If this is an illusion, which is my postulate, that is what I think. I think this is an illusionary state we're in. So what is reality? Let's look into it. But first of all, let's look into Denmark, because I have a lot of good points in showing you how all the Danes are just living the illusion of a democracy. So, Denmark has a popular government, a well-functioning democracy. The people have the power. The monarch is a figurehead with a rubber stamp. The monarch works hard for the people. There's virtually no corruption in the country. Denmark has free and independent media. Exactly the same thing that we can say about Sweden. So what is the reality? I'm going to take you through one by one those 6 points here, and then we're going back to look at the state of Sweden. So, Denmark is a democracy. I'm going to show you a video now, which is quite revealing. So, I talked about the king before, and the king is... when he was 18 in 1986, so there was this interesting clip in the Danish state media, Danmarks Radio, DR, And it was quite interesting that they were so open about this. But the way he becomes a rigsforstander, that means that he can, when the Queen is out, he can be the one in charge. The way he becomes one like this is that he is inaugurated through a meeting which is held in the State Council. Now, you probably won't believe me if I tell you that this State Council is closed to the public. There's no one but the ministers sitting around a table, and the Queen and the coming King. He was a crown prince at that time, and he was until 2 years ago when he became the king. Actually, the Queen abdicated, which was a bit weird, but that's a different story. So in this State Council meeting, which is held every second week, or at least once a month, something. It's held on a regular basis. The press is not invited. The Danes are not invited. Only the government and the king or the Queen or their replacements. So he's inaugurated in this meeting, and Danish state media, DR, is actually quite open about what is taking place here.
Og her er vi så inde i statsrådet. Disse billeder er cirka 10-12 minutter gamle. Vi kan se hele ministeriet sidder omkring det ovale bord, og for enden sidder dronningen. Og ved siden af hende kronprinsen. Kronprinsen har nu ligesom sin mor fra i dag fast sæde i statsrådet. Dette er ret exceptionelle billeder på statsrådet er hemmeligt, hvad der sker i det, og det er lukket for fotografer og for...
So this is all the ministers and the Prime Minister sitting here. The Queen and the Crown Prince. Foreign Minister.
Nu nikker dronningen og rejser sig som tegn på, at statsrådet er forbi. Det er nemlig dronningens statsråd. Det er dronningen.
It's the Queen's State Council. It's the Queen's meeting with the government. It's the Queen who sits at the end of the table. It's the Queen that leads the meeting.
1986, hvor kronprinsen er 18 år, og hvor han derfor ifølge forfatningen og ifølge
according to the Constitution,
som er underskrevet af Christian den 9. i 1971, bliver medlem og skal være.
He is now a member of the State Council.
Hvis dronningen skulle blive syg, eller hvis hun rejser udenlands, kan overtage regeringens førelse.
The leading of the government. So he's meant to take over the leading of the government. This is state TV, state broadcasting TV in Denmark, who says it's so brazen like this. It's quite interesting. Of course, that's not proof enough. So let's keep on pressing forward here. So Denmark is a democracy. That was the illusion. And yet democracy is not mentioned once in the Danish constitution. You probably won't believe me, but it's the truth. I've written a book on this and the other very weird things about the Danish constitution. There's not one single word saying democracy in the Danish constitution. And actually some of the middle pages the Danish present constitution is printed in this book, so people can have a look for themselves. So I won't go further into that, but it's like 20 very small chapters, each describing some things that has nothing to do with democracy. For instance, the way that Denmark became member of the European Union. That was by all means not a democratic decision. So, the second question about this popular government. Here we have the winner of the last election, Jakob Ellemann Jensen. He is from the left the left party, but the left party in Denmark is actually the right party. Yes, it's weird. It's a bit like the Waterloo song yesterday. What is up is down. So anyway, so he's from Venstre, and he was the winner of the last election. That meant that his party actually did very well, and even the right bloc, which he's part of, actually more or less got the majority in the parliament. However, because some of his friends from the left party had formed a new party, they sought a midter-seeking government, and then they made the prior prime minister from the Social Democrats, they made her the states minister once again. So she took once again the seat as a state minister or prime minister in Denmark, and that was his mistake, or his he did it. He was the kingmaker or the prime minister maker in this sense by actually using the election to say she should be prosecuted for what she did during the corona. In Denmark, we killed about 15 to 16 million minks. Yeah. Is it called minks in English? Minka på svenska. Yeah. So ferrets, I think it's the English words for this. So in Denmark we have a huge industry, of ferrets, of minks, and they were like, the decision was taken like within very few days, and there was so many things went wrong in this decision. And for instance, the Prime Minister's SMSs vanished and disappeared. so everybody else is tracked by every means available by big data and so on, but not the Prime Minister's. Her SMSs vanished, so some of the proof for what she had done wrong didn't really get to the public knowledge, and the population at large were very dissatisfied with this situation. He used that dissatisfaction to actually use the campaign to get people to vote for him and his party, so he could depose or put the current prime minister, which was Mette Frederiksen, out of business, so he or someone else from the blue, from the right hand corner, could actually take power. Instead, he made her prime minister for a second term. So that's more than 7 years now she has been the prime minister of Denmark. Unfortunately, I should say. But anyway, so there was a press meeting. So of course, the Danish, very critical mainstream media, they had a lot of questions for this guy, right? Because you tricked all the voters to vote for you, and now you make her prime minister again, and you're dropping all the charges. So of course there's a lot of very, very critical questions to this guy, of course.
Når man bliver formand for Venstre, så følger det med, at man fra dag 1 er statsministerkandidat. Er du stadigvæk det nu, hvor Mette Frederiksen er din nye chef?
Min chef, det er Hendes Majestæt Dronningen, eller det bliver det i hvert fald i morgen. Vi betragter...
Oops. Yeah. I'm just going to pause this here. What he is saying here, because the critical journalist, he's saying, so as a leader of the Venstre party, you are always automatically a prime minister candidate. So how does it feel that you are now in a government where the Social Democrat Mette Frederiksen is your new leader? And he says, Mette Frederiksen is not my leader. My manager, my boss is the Queen. It is weird.
Når man bliver formand for Venstre, så følger det med, at man fra dag 1 er statsministerkandidat. Er du stadigvæk det nu, hvor Mette Frederiksen er din nye chef?
Min chef, det er hendes majestæt dronningen, eller det bliver det i hvert fald i morgen. Vi betragter statsministeren. Det gjorde jeg også tidligere, da det var Lars Løkke som en slags mellemleder. Men altså, formaliteterne, det skal jo være på plads, ikke så?
So we have... I just want to take the last...
Da det var Lars Løkke som en slags mellemleder. Men altså, formaliteterne, det skal jo være på plads, ikke sandt?
So we've got the Prime Minister here, and we've got the fallen angel from the Venstre party here, a new party called the Moderates in Denmark, and they don't know what to do with themselves. You're not meant to say this out loud. It's not meant to being said, so that's why they're laughing. They've never heard this stated in public before.
Men altså, formaliteterne, det skal jo være på plads, ikke sandt?
So then, because he said his boss is the Queen, and you should not say that.
His boss is the Queen,
yeah.
And you're not meant to say that, even though it says in the Constitution. You're not meant to say it out loud, and he did it. What do you think happened to him? His political career vanished. He called in sick, and then after 6 months or so, he dropped the political career altogether. Why? Nobody really knows, because it was stressful, apparently. That might not be the official explanation. There might be something to do with also maybe that he's saying this, which is not really meant to say, but also that he's an officer in the Danish army, or used to be. I think he's in the reserve now. He has a heart which is beating for the Danish defense, the Danish military, and the first thing they did was to give away our F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, a lot of armored vehicles, and all our artillery. We had no artillery for half a year or a year because we've given it away. It's completely bonkers politically wise in a world like this to give away all. Why have a defense if you give it away? But anyway, that was what they did. He didn't feel safe doing that. I've seen footage from him with Zelensky in Ukraine, where you can just see he's like pale, he's like white in the face. It's just not. It doesn't fit with him what they were about to do, him and his 2 other accomplices, when they went to Ukraine. Yeah.
Is he the son of Uffe?
Yes, you're right. He's the son of the foreign minister that we saw sitting next to the crown prince before, and that's also a thing with the Danish politics, that the same families keep producing the politicians who makes it to the top. So, the monarch has only, that's the third point now, the monarch has only ceremonial power. So I'm asking the question, why are ministers servants of the Queen then? Because that's what the Constitution says. And I'm not the only one saying this, luckily. There's 2 other politicians which is actually sitting in Parliament. This is Morten Messerschmidt. He's the party leader of a party called Denmark. No, I forgot the name. Anyway, one of the very left-wing parties. And now I was meant to show this one here. Yes. And I have to excuse you for the sound of this.
Sagen med de forfatningsretsbøger, det mener jeg har hørt dig sige på talerstolen. Så du må beklager, god dag. Bekræftelse her.
So sorry for the mess here, but I just want to go to the end.
Hvornår skete det i forhold til 93, hvor grundloven jo blev vedtaget, hvor der står, at det er regenten, der er den lovgivende magt?
So I'm having a discussion with him about the constitution.
Men grundloven er jo skrevet i 1953.
Ja, men det er rigtigt. Men der er masser af ting i grundloven, så det kan jeg også.
Skal han nye grundlov?
Nej.
Så den skal ikke slås om, så den skal vi få tolket lidt på.
So now it comes.
Ja, det skal vi spørge om. Jeg vidste om, for at forstå det. Jamen, jeg er ret god til at læse. Det står ikke, der er skrevet. Men paragraf 3 er ret klar. Ja, gerne.
He's telling me off here.
Majestæten udøver sin beføjelse gennem sin minister.
Kongen står der.
Ja, så kongen. Men altså, at det er igennem ministeren beføjelse, der bliver udøvet.
Ja, rigtig paragraf 12.
Så er det det, han skal læse sammen.
Ja. Der er du inde på noget, som det faktisk kun er en anden minister, der har været inde. Eller du er ikke minister, men en anden folketingspolitiker, der har været inde på. Og det er, at ministeren faktisk er dronningens tjener ifølge det her.
Det er der slet ingen tvivl om. So what he's saying is actually he's reciting the Danish constitution. So I'm going. So when you're reciting the Danish constitution, you're actually saying that the ministers are the servants of the Queen. And he says, yes, there's no doubt the ministers are the servants of the Queen. And I'm going like, okay, because at that point I had heard someone else saying this, and he was actually a Danish minister. At this point, he's only a parliament. He had recently become the party leader, this Morten Messerschmidt. So there was actually someone in parliament already who had been a minister in several governments. His name is Søren Pind. He is having here a discussion on, I think, Twitter, and what he ends up saying is ministers means servant, yes, but the Queen's servant, not the people's. My relationship with the people is based on the words in the Constitution, not your words. So he's saying that same thing which Morten Messerschmidt just told me, but you can't get any other members of Parliament to state this in a fashion that they have done like they have, which is weird. So here we have the Danish constitution, section or paragraph 14. The king appoints and dismisses the prime minister and the other ministers. It's quite clear here. There's several other parts of the constitution which tells us that the king has supreme power, but he shares the power in parliament with the parliament. So there's a cooperation between the elected people in parliament and the king in terms of running the country. And the thing is, who has the power? The ministers or the king in that case? Your guess is as good as mine, I guess, but this is at least what the Constitution says. So, the thing about Søren Pind here, he was a bit of a rogue minister. I don't think you can find a minister who's more hated than he was. He was such a figure, like it was nearly like a cartoon. So at the end of his term as a co-colleague of mine actually replaced him as a minister. I used to work with the guy who came after him. But anyway, just before he handed over the ministry to what's he called, Adler, my friend or my former co-worker, he bought himself this minister clothes, and he wore this for his goodbye reception. Can you believe it? So he's a Bilderberg member, Club Bilderberg, and here, if you don't know about Club Bilderberg, it's worth looking into. We will touch on Bilderberg a little bit later, because Bilderberg is just one out of a lot of different secret and semi-secret society. And some of you might say, but why are you listing the EU, World Economic Forum, and European mission, or at least EU? Here we've got so-called democratic elected members, so you can't call them semi-secret. But they are. Things are being made, deals are being made behind closed doors on a very high level in the EU. And to make things worse, we have put all the human rights over in something which is called the European Commission, giving them the same logo, so everybody mixes the two and think that they are protected by some human rights which the EU has actually made. But there's no human rights in the laws of the EU. It's a law under the European Commission, and it's not a law. It's just a show. And they have a headquarters in Hague in Holland. And I think we've got 10 Danish cases of human rights in this. And this is crazy, because it's like half a century, and we've got not half a century, but several decades, and we've got 10 Danish human rights cases. It's a joke, but most people buys it. So anyway, these are all secret or semi-secret organizations. If we have to take them from the bottom, which I think it's a good idea in when they were actually made, we have to go to Chatham House here. This is the first one back in the starts of the 19th century. Quickly after came the Council on Foreign Relations. So this is a UK-based, it's often called RIIA, Royal Institute of International Affairs, and Council on Foreign Relations is often just referred to as CFR. Here we got a European part of this CFR. Here we've got Club of Rome, Club de Madrid. This is for prime ministers, former prime ministers who formed this club. We've got Trilateral Commission. We have to go to do like this. We have the Bilderberg following the Council on Foreign Relations and the Chatham House. And after Bilderberg, some 20 years after, we've got in 1973, we've got the Trilateral Commission, formed by Rockefeller, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and what's he called? Kissinger, Heinrich Kissinger. I call him by his first name, which is not Henry, it's Heinrich. He was born in Germany and then moved to the US during the Second World War. So they actually formed this Trilateral Commission. It was a bit like Bilderberg. It was just to include Japan in this at this point in time. If anyone is interested in the economic fiction, then Richard Werner is a fantastic financial guy who has been living in Japan and who has been documented through a documentary and a book called Princess of Yen. And he totally describes how the Federal Reserve System takes over Japan. So that was done in the 70s here to include Japan and Asia, and then we've got, of course, the United Nations, who was formed just after the Second World War. We've got World Economic Forum, formed back in the 70s. It was called European Management Forum, formed by Klaus Schwab, again a former Nazi sympathizer. him and his father used to work for the Nazi regime. We've got European Roundtable for Industry, which is where you can put people like the Wallenberg and so on from Sweden, so they can meet with the Wallenbergs. Actually, the two brothers are more or less in most of these organizations. We'll go back to who is in these organizations, because it's quite interesting. If, and we talked about this yesterday, if there's an organization of all these that means more than the others, it's probably the Committee of 300. This is a made-up logo. That's not how the logo looks like. They don't have a logo. They don't have minutes of meeting. They don't have a reference on the internet. They call themselves the Olympians, and they might not exist at all. And that's just the fact. So this is really conspiracy. If it's theory, yes, because I can't prove it. All the other things here, that's not a conspiracy theory, because we can document how they're working. We can document who are the people in it. We know some of the people who is in this, but it's very shady, and it's very difficult to document what goes on in the Committee of 300, and it might actually be a Committee of 500 at this point in time. So the Trilateral Commission, just to take one of these. This is, I didn't translate it into English because it's not that important, just to show you that a lot of very, let's say, high up in the political hierarchy, Danes are taking part of the Trilateral Commission. It's called DTK, Den Trilaterale Kommission in Danish. It is led by Bo Lidegaard, who used to be a historian who documented some of the things that I told you yesterday about religion in Denmark before the Catholic religion, which is interesting. And up to a point, he was following his father's books on the subject. They were very good at describing how pre-Christian Denmark was actually quite Christian, which is interesting. But then at a point, he just gave up the fight, and since then he's been a poster boy for all the cosy magazines, and he's invited on television now and then. I think he was bought. When his father died, Bo was bought, and now he's bought and paid for, and he is in the DTK. So you can see, if you're a historian and you sort of document what is really going on, then you can become part of this club here. So I'm waiting for my ticket in, but I'm not going to say yes so much, I can promise you. But this is what happens. People get bought in this game. So we got Helle Thorning-Schmidt, a former Prime Minister. We got Mette Frederiksen, former Prime Minister. We got the very unlucky Jakob Ellemann-Jensen. We've got, of course, the chairman of Danske Bank. We've got EU commissioner. We've got, ministers. Of course, former National Bank director, Bodil Nybo Andersen. We've got former CEO of Danske Bank, the former minister here. We've got Lykke Friis. She's quite interesting. She's like such a nuthead to listen to, but she's everywhere, like just everywhere. On TV, in the think tanks, in the big semi and not so semi secret organizations. We've got Lars Rode, National Bank, current National Bank director. That's the sort of people that is invited for this Trilateral Commission. So the
question: you don't have anyone from Maersk, McKinney Møller family? From Maersk?
From Maersk in the DTK? No, I don't think. I think they're in the European Roundtable for in industry, but I don't think they're in Trilateral. I think they're in Bilderberg as well. So the illusion here, I'm just making a quick sum up here. Denmark has a popular government, a well-functioning democracy. Denmark is a limited democracy. So that's what it says in the Constitution. It says Denmark is a limited democracy. This is the direct translation, not democracy. Denmark is a limited monarchy. That is the direct translations of what it says in the Danish Constitution. The limitations to this is that the king or queen needs to be 18 years old, he needs to be well functioning, he or she needs to be part of the Danish evangelist Protestant church. And yeah, I think there's 5 or 6 little things like that, very, very small limitations to the monarchy. So the people have the political power is the postulate. Actually, we just saw that the minister and civil servants hold the political power. It's not really the people, because when the people hold the ministers to account, the ministers hold the constitution to account. And third, the monarch is a figurehead with a rubber stamp. Really, the monarch has the formal power over ministers and civil servants. Whether that is used in, let's say, aggressive or in a direct way, that, of course, is up to discussion. But constitutional-wise, legal-wise, this is what the reality is. The monarch has the formal power over ministers and civil servants. So we still have 3 to go. We'll go through them quite quickly here, because the monarch works hard for the people. Unfortunately, the answer is no. They are working hard to preserve the family's limited, very, very limited power. Even though they are living in a prison, it's a golden prison, yes, but it's a limited power in a globalized world where globalists call the shots. And you can say, yeah, they're part of the globalist group, but not really. They don't have much to say. They are a French family in Denmark trying to hold the formal power of Denmark. I don't think there's any reason to envy these guys. And of course, again, I am referring to my book about the Danish Constitution. I'm thinking if this is in English at this point on my Substack, I'm not sure, but it will be translated quite soon to English as well. So there's virtually no corruption. Not in Denmark or not in Sweden. So here you can see on the list of countries by corruption perceptions index, the important point here is perceptions. So this is not actually measured corruption. We're not measuring how many Danish or Swedish kroner or euros or dollars or renminbi or yens that is actually taking on place under the cover. No, we are measuring what the people who trades with Denmark thinks about Denmark. We don't ask the Danes themselves really in this case, which is a little bit weird, because you'd think that a perception index would actually go the whole way around, but it's just based on a questionnaire that is sent to people who cooperate with Denmark, not the Danes themselves really. So we see Sweden is number 8 here. This is of course out of all the countries that you can count. What are we? Nearly 200 countries. So these 2 countries, Denmark and Sweden, are really on the top of the list of not being corrupted. So there's very, very little corruption in Denmark and in Sweden compared to corruption in other countries. And then we don't know how much corruption is in other countries, so we don't really know whether this is good or bad. It looks good because it seems like we're better than the rest. So if we look at realities in Denmark, if there is virtually no corruption, Why are ministers rewarded for their mistakes? Here we've got Bjarne Corydon back in the middle of, back in, I think it was 2015. He sold Dong Energy, a Danish energy company, very huge one. It's a company which also had the gas, what's it called, license to take out gas and oil of the underground and so on. So it's a huge Danish company which is mostly owned by the government at this point, and then they sold it to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, I don't think we touched on yesterday. It's a front office of the Rothschilds set up in the very end of the 18th century. In 1897, Goldman Sachs were put up, and then a few years after, they actually saved America from bankruptcy by taking all their gold. So the story goes. They did that twice before making the Federal Reserve. So anyway, so Dong is sold to Goldman Sachs for less than a penny, nearly very, very cheap sale. And what happens to Bjarne Corydon? He becomes a European vice president of McKinsey and Company. Anyone heard about McKinsey in here? McKinsey and Company. It's a huge consultancy. I used to be a management consultant. If there was one company that was up here on the wish list for all management consultants, it's McKinsey and Company. I didn't know McKinsey that much back then, but I know them today, and I know what they stand for. Let's look into them. What is McKinsey? If you make a search on Google, this is actually what you see. You see a lot of Rothschilds working in McKinsey and Company all over the place. The intermix between McKinsey and Rothschild is huge. That might be because in Denmark there was a part of the population which was growing increasingly skeptical about the Rothschilds all the time working for the Danish government. Why didn't the Danish government ask other consultancies than the Rothschild when they were asking for consultancy? So I think that was part of the problem why they built McKinsey and made it a Rothschild subsidiary. But when you also owe the press, then nobody actually takes mention of this. I think this is proof how interrelated Rothschild is with McKinsey. So anyway, he's also a Bilderberger, Bjarne Corydon, and he actually attended the Bilderberger meeting the year before he sold Goldman Sachs, wishing there were visker der nogle ting i øret. They were probably whispering into his ear what to do. I don't know, I wasn't there. Maybe they were just drinking coffee and discussing how to reduce the population, which is fair enough if that's what you want to do. I don't think you should kill anybody, but I mean, you might discuss that we are too many people on the earth, but then to start and go and cull them, of course, I don't think you should do that. But you can discuss things. I mean, it should be open. I don't think it should be behind closed doors like they do it in Bilderberg. The first many years, nobody was allowed to know anything about the Bilderberg. They didn't have a homepage. Of course, there wasn't any internet, but there wasn't any minutes of meeting or anything. They didn't acknowledge when journalists asking the people who went to the meetings, they just said, no, don't know such a thing. There was no official mentioning of Bilderberg for the many first decades. So, no corruption, you say. if there's so little corruption, then we don't need to do anything about it. That seems to be the workings behind this. This is an article on the online on Denmark's radio. It's the headline is "Several years of criticism bounce back. No new rules against corruption in the Parliament, the Folketing." The Speaker of the Danish Parliament, Søren Gade, here has no intention of changing the rules despite several years of criticism. Denmark has repeatedly been harshly criticized for not introducing new rules to prevent corruption among members of Parliament. But the criticism is bouncing off the Speaker of the Folketing, Søren Gade here, who has no intention of doing more. He says, "For the 5th year in a row, Denmark tops the list of the least corrupt countries in the world by Transparency International, so no need to do anything about it." Can you get the picture here? We are so easy. The population are so easy to being misled. We don't need to do anything because we are already better than the rest. So even though the people of the or the members of the Folketing, of the Parliament, they can be corrupt, yeah, so what? It's a small thing. It's a small thing. So, free and independent media. This is a bit of an old slide because she's no longer the Nazi propaganda minister in Denmark. She used to be Denmark's Goebbels. Now, I think I know him. Oh yes, that's him from Bihar. That's Bjarne Corydon. He's the one who sold to Goldman Sachs and then took up a position with McKinsey. Actually, McKinsey was the company who brokered the deal between Dong and Goldman Sachs. So he had hired McKinsey to the job, and then they hired him afterwards. Isn't that great? Because then, you know, they kind of know each other, and they don't need to sit and drink coffee before they agree what position is to take and things like that. And since there's no law against this, which we saw just before, so the clown show can go on. Yeah, Bilderberg's relationship with top-level politics and the power elite in Denmark dates back to Bilderberg's first meeting at the Bilderberg Hotel in the Netherlands in 1954, where Danish prince from the royal house really helped found the organization. A few years later, in 1969, and just 2 years after marrying Margrethe II, Prince Consort Henrik also attended the meetings. So that was his ticket to sit and have Baron de Rothschild, what's it called, the red wine? Rothschild, that's a Mouton de Rothschild or something like that. Anyway, so Danish politicians were invited to attend the meetings as early as 1956, but it was not until Danish Prime Minister Jens Otto Krag in 1962. He actually participated in the Bilderberg meeting some years before. I think it's 72. Actually, there's a printing mistake here because the tradition was introduced back then, and the Bilderbergers seems to. This is interesting. It seems to me like the Bilderbergs or the trilaterals are electing the Danish prime ministers. And they do so before the voters do so. Can they do that? They cannot predict what I'm going to vote, can they? No, they have other means of doing this. Here we got Club Bilderberg members. First, Poul Nyrup. He was Prime Minister for 8 years and ended his session in 2001. Anders Fogh Rasmussen took over from 2001 to 2009. Then Helle Thorning-Schmidt was the Prime Minister from 2011 to 15, and they are all Bilderberg members. So they were all part of Bilderberg meetings before becoming Danish prime ministers. Now, it's very evident that these people have a great career in front of them after being prime minister. They have all done well. Which one of these three do you think? I know you're not Danish, so you probably don't follow Danish politics, but you probably heard about one or two of these. Which of these three do you think made it best in the time after? You think he became the General Secretary of NATO, and now he has his own consultancy, always on all kind of broadcasting TV shows and stuff. I think it's actually Helle Thorning-Schmidt, and I'll show you why. Oh, by the way, a little detail. She's married to Stephen Kinnock. He's a member of parliament. He was recently invited in as a minister in England. He's also, like most other social democrats, that is Labour in the UK, he is part of Fabian society. Now that is interesting. It's not a conspiracy, but Fabian society, they have this famous weapon here where you can see all their intentions in what they've done for 125 years. They have decepted the people as much as they can. And I kid you not, this is their logo. It is their real logo. It's a wolf in sheep's clothes. So they want to enact socialism in the UK, a very Fabian form of socialism, and they want to do it by deception. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You need to keep some breath here for the next slide, because now it goes a little bit worse and a little bit more relevant to Sweden. So we've got Helle Thorning-Schmidt. She's of course a trilateralist. She's also a Bilderberger. She's also Club de Madrid. She's also an Atlantic Council, Council on Foreign Relations, even the European Council on Foreign Relations, in the UN doing special envoy kind of thing, in the EU doing special envoy kind of thing, in World Economic Forum. That's actually a women's organization that is closely connected to the Economic Forum. And she's not the only one like this. There's other Danes that has multiple. Løkke Friis, like I talked about before, has multiple positions. But let's look at Sweden. I know that we have a common friend. I have a common friend with some of you here when Palme was shot here in Stockholm many years back. Then there was a prime minister. I think he was the vice prime minister who then took over. What was his name? Ingvar Carlsson, and then I think the next in line or so was Carl Bildt. He's both a trilateralist and a Bilderberger. Now, again, I used to work together with a former gymnasium, what's it called, a friend of Helle Thorning-Schmidt. I have nothing against her. I'm sure she's a lovely person, but she is participating in what we can call the deep state, and I don't agree with the deep state's objective. I don't agree with this sheep's in wolves in sheep's clothes. I don't agree with it, and hence that's why I'm doing this and making this as public as I can. It's not very popular, I know, but I think it's important. So it's not that I don't like Helle Thorning-Schmidt. It's not that I don't like Carl Bildt. I know nothing about him, but I do know that he's a part of Trilateral Commission and the Bilderberg. I know he's also part of all of these organizations. So he actually tops Helle Thorning-Schmidt in this regard. I don't know if there's I'd say if we look at Germany and we look at the UK and we look at other countries, you'll see a similar picture. So if you want to see sort of a framework of how all this is working in coordination, just like we saw it during the corona. None of these all organizations that is working so hard for the people said anything to World Economic Forum's grand master strategic masterpiece. That was interesting. If you signed up for World Economic Forum in the start of the COVID era, you signed up for a strategic masterpiece of a tool that could actually give you, if you were a prime minister in one of the countries, you could print out your policies. That was World Economic Forum. They had such a great tool for this, and they gave access to everybody. I had access to it. I just gave them my email and I had access to this. So all the policies were made by World Economic Forum. All the other organizations were just following suit. And maybe this is the reason, because it's the same people. It's the same people who participate in the Davos meetings as participate in these others. Of course, they can't all fit in the room, so they change chairs and so on. So yeah, they might be great persons, but they are participating in something that I do not agree with. They are both, Helle and Carl is both on the advisory board of Atlantic Council. They are both on the international advisory board on the European. That might actually be a bit doubling up here, but I think they're both on the International Advisory Board of CFR, and they're board members in European CFR. Carl Bildt is the European Deputy Chairman of the Trilateral Commission. There's 3 chairmen, and those 3 chairmen actually make up the, I think O'Sullivan is the American counterparts. Club de Madrid, committee of 300. When I prepared for this in the hotel room, it escaped my mind where I have the reference for this, so I'll definitely get back to you because I need to find out where I got this. But allegedly, Carl Bildt is an Olympian, part of the committee of 300. Of course, this is not something he probably would brag about, because these are not in the CVs of these people, mostly. Especially not when they're still in service. They tend to forget about this. So this makes this funny situation that I am one of the few people who knows which is the next prime minister in Denmark. I'm one of the few. But of course, I try and tell as many people as possible so we can have a laugh. This is an election year. Within the next 10 months, there'll be an election because the time is up. And then Alex Van Opslar of the Liberals will be the next prime minister. Why? Because he is part of the Trilateral Commission. How did he become that? When Jakob Ellemann-Jensen, who was meant to be the next one, dropped out, then they took Alex Van Opslar in, and they made him Rockefeller Fellowship. That's actually what they call it. So he's part of Trilateral, and in Denmark, if you want to be the prime minister, you need to be part of either Bilderberg or the Trilateral, and that will be Alex Van Opslar if Mette Frederiksen is not keeping her seat, because that might be the case. You never know. She's had two terms already. She might have a third one. Oh, yes, what have we got here? We got, I think this is the World Economic Forum list. And this was, of course, done by, who was, Jakob, who was here before Jakob, and Jakob Nordengård, Inge, yeah. They do this list. And Here we've got all the Danes, all the Swedes of the list. There's 31 of them. It's actually only 30. I need to correct Jakob on one of them, because one of them is a Dane, and he should be under Denmark. But because he was the one who made the Nordic bank, what's the name? There was a fusion between two big banks, and then he moved to Stockholm to control things from here. So he's number 31. But there's 30 Swedes on the World Economic Forum list. There's 22 Danes on this list. So reality in Denmark. Limited monarchy. The word democracy is not mentioned in the constitution. The Danes are allowed to elect members of the Folketing, but the ministers become servants of the Queen. This is a smart thing. The Danish royal family, which is an Oldenburg-Glucksburg family, just like we have a Bernadotte family here, is part of the global power cartel. They're slave to the system. Ministers do not need to be elected to the Folketing. Examples here is Lykke Friis, Jeppe Kofod, Tommy Ahlers. He's the former work colleague of mine, Thor Møger Pedersen, who wasn't elected. They was just handpicked. By whom? Well, according to the constitution, by the Queen at that time. The Queen works hard for of course it's the King now, works hard for the power cartel, but under the pretense of being devoted to the Danish people by stealth. Corruption is widespread in Denmark, but it is subtle and takes place at the highest level. This is like, like we have a fifth, Ericsson is promoting a 5th generation telecommunication network. This is a 2nd generation form of corruption that is taking place. There's no money, printed money, being put in a brown envelope, being put over the table and buying off people. They're getting positions, they're getting treats, they're getting flight to Epstein Island and stuff like that. That is how the corruption takes place. And that is a good thing I mentioned Epstein, because that's also another point. We are in a state where people are waking up to realities. Of course, there's so much deception in the Epstein whole case. There's a lot of deception. And of course, they're not showing everything, because that would be devastating for Trump, for instance. But it is making people think, gee, that conspiracy theorist Fleming that I talked to 5 years ago, he might actually be onto something, which is great, because then they start questioning the power that they are subjected to. The press is by far free and independent. In Denmark, it's 4 to 5 billion Danish kroner that the media subsidies gets. And of course, this is all described in my book. This is the reality, limited democracy. I think we've already gone through this. Basically, we don't have democracy. They're telling us it's a democracy. Actually, they tell us it's they do actually tell us, but they present it in a way that we're meant to think it's a democracy. So, what about Sweden? Democracy and people rule is actually mentioned. One up to Sweden in the competition with Denmark, because you actually do write the word democracy in your grundlager, in the constitutions in Sweden. So we've got actually all in all 5 documents in Sweden. If that is not confusing, I don't know what. Of course, it's this is about the freedom of press. This is about also the freedom to say what you want. This is the rules and regulations from the Riksdag. This is actually not really a grundlov or a constitution, but it's sort of an amendment to the constitution. So this is how the parliament is meant to work. We got regeringsformen here, where we put in, where there was put in democracy and folkestyrelsen. It's not like it's the heading of it, but it's in there. It's better than in Denmark. What I'm trying to say here is that if Sweden was a democracy, it would be the headline of this law, and it would be the starting point of describing all the paragraphs in them, but it's not. So anyway, I used to work for Ericsson. I used to work for the Wallenberg, who controls Ericsson. This is a picture of an article describing a fine of $1 billion that Ericsson got for bribing off countries in the Middle East, where I used to work, and in Asia. I think it was 5 different countries. So get this one. Ericsson commits corruption in the Middle East and are caught with their hands in the cookie jar. And what happens? Ericsson has to pay a fine after several years, many years of workings in the US Department of Justice, and paying $1 billion to the US Department of Justice for corruption done by a Swedish company in the Middle East and Asia. I'm just saying, think about it. Think about it. No corruption in Sweden, by the way. And then, after they committed to paying this was not really a fine, it was a negotiation and a settlement. So it was a settlement. So they agreed to pay this enormous amount of money, and the year after, I think it was 4 years after, I think. 4 years after, they do it all over again, and then they actually, the US Department of Justice, they made them admit that they have done corruption, because now it's serious. Now you have to admit it, and they admitted it, and they paid $2006 million, and after 1 year of an outsider being inside Ericsson and looking over corruption, he decided in 2024, no more corruption in Ericsson, everything is fine, and he got the hell out of there. So that's all done and dusted, nothing to see here, no more corruption, not in Sweden, not in Swedish companies operating all over the world. Yeah, here we got what I said, announces the conclusion of the monitorship is what it's called. That's how it works. So, I think we need a break, and then we'll look into democracy in Sweden. Thank you. So, we were talking about how democracy in Denmark wasn't really democracy, and we were looking into Sweden as well, just making a few points on Sweden. Free and independent media. Actually, the government in Sweden funds state medias and privately owned medias. Swedish government provides approximately, 10 billion, 9.5 billion Swedish kroner. It's an awful lot of money. It's an awful good salary for the Swedish Goebbels and his minions. That's a lot of money, and 8.6 of those money is for Sveriges Television og Sveriges Radio, og hvad hedder det? Utbildningsradio. Så det er dem, som får de her afbildnings... Carl Bildningsradion. The media authority has allocated nearly 1 billion Swedish krona in media support for a total of 158. You won't see any of all those 158 be more than just a little bit critical on things like Corona narrative, the royal house, corruption in government, Ukraine donations, NATO invasion, and all these things. All of those won't be critical to the main stream narrative, and that's because their life depends on it. Which is a smart thing, because then you can actually make sure what they write about, what they make television about, what they make podcasts about. It's a smart setup. It's a really smart setup. And in Sweden, even though you're bigger than in Denmark, a bigger country, it's an awful more money than it is in Denmark. So I'm not surprised I'm not saying you are, I'm not surprised if the Swedish population is more brainwashed and more propagandized than in Denmark. I'd say that's probably most likely the case. So, Sweden has a popular government and a well-functioning democracy. Well, there might be some problems with this very, very, very difficult, non-transparent framework called the Constitution, which consists of 4 documents plus an amendment with different variations of laws to subject the people to. It's the normal Swede just won't bother looking into this. And when the normal Swede don't get fed proper information during his or hers tenure in school and in universities, then you get the situation we're in, that everybody thinks it's great and it's a democracy and everything works. Well, maybe not 100%, but like we are close to the top, so there's no need for revolutionizing the system. The people have the power, it's the same thing. The monarch is a figurehead with a rubber stamp. Well, the Bernadottes were probably put in place by the nobilities and even a very close relationship to the Wallenbergs. So here you've got something that is more than a figurehead. It's a part of the wheel. It's a small cog in the wheel, or maybe a big cog. We never know, but it's a part of the whole operation, and that's what the monarch is. Works hard for the people. Well, works hard for the people not to know anything about Epstein and things like that, I think. And virtually no corruption in the country. No, not in the country. Corruption is something we do in that Ericsson at least do in other countries. I don't know. I'm sure the same could be said about AstraZeneca and so on. That's Swedish as well, isn't it? AstraZeneca. Yeah. Did you know AstraZeneca that the Russian Sputnik vaccine was actually just AstraZeneca put on a different vial? No. Yeah, that's what it was.
It was different kind of vaccines.
I did an interview with Slausquat. He is, what was his name? Riley Wackerman. He used to live in Russia, and he looked into all this. He's a great guy. It's a really good, it's on my Substack. It's a really good interview. He's so funny, and he's just so earnest about things as well. But he told the facts about that. Sorry, you had a question?
It wasn't me. No, I thought it was 2 different kinds of vaccines.
Okay, yeah. No, it's...
Can still be AstraZeneca behind.
And if you look in, I think it's Argentine, they've actually published the adverse effects of the vaccines, and AstraZeneca and Sputnik, because they had both in this market, is exactly the same profile in terms of that. So yeah. And then again, it's a little bit weird if they all just had this vaccine ready for the end of 2020. Even the Russians, isn't it?
With all the sizes together.
Oh yeah.
That's why.
That's probably why. Sweden has free and independent media. I think we can say not. In Denmark, it might be the same thing. I haven't looked into all the details in this, but in Denmark there was a very critical radio channel which was called Radio 24/7, Radio 24/7, and they did excellent interviews. They had an excellent political, redacteur, political. What's redacteur? Publicizer? Editor, yeah, right. A political editor, Brian Weikart, and he is the only critical journalist in all of Denmark. I can't say enough good things about him. I wish he would, spill the beans a little bit more than he does. But he was the political editor on Radio 24/7. What did the government do when Radio 24/7 became a little too critical? They just closed it down. They just took the money away. They just made sure that they have to move to the other end of the country if they want to keep airing their programs. So then they shut down.
Can they close their bank accounts?
It's oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is soft power, because they of course don't tell us about this. That we just took the subsidies away from us. They invent some reason for them to shut down. So if they have just shut down the bank accounts, I'm surprised. That's very openly to do it. But I suppose that's a media that wasn't part of the subsidies that you're talking about, because then I
think everything is connected.
Yeah. Because if they're not subsidized, then what shall you do? Oh yeah, we close the bank account. Thank you.
It's one way of killing them.
So, reality about Sweden, I think we can agree that it may be not. It may be a lot like in Denmark. And possibly a much worse, because there's simply just more money in Sweden. Sweden has a very huge industry, and the fact that Wallenberg is heading all of this is a demonstrable negative fact to that. So that was the first of the fictions in the three fictions in the overall illusion about Denmark, which is also the illusion about Sweden, which is also the illusion about the UK, which is also the illusion about the US, because it's the same monster that operates in all the aforementioned countries. So if we look into the legal fiction, it becomes even more evident that things are connected. I have missed out a few slides here, but I'm going to make it off the top of my head. So in the legal fiction, what the people think, what the narrative tells them, is that the Danish courts are completely independent of other branches of government. Independent court. Of course, in a society where everybody is free and everybody has the right to express themselves and live their lives and so on, you need an independent court that doesn't take somebody, that isn't biased when somebody takes another one to court. The lawyers in the judicial system are independent advocates. That's what we think. So if you get a lawyer, you think that lawyer answers to you and nobody else. It's your interest that the lawyer takes. That's great if it was like that. It isn't actually, and we'll look into that. The police serve the public. Yes, of course they do. They can be very nice on certain assignments. They can also be very unnice on certain other assignments. And it's not that I'm proud of it, but it's a fact. I was arrested for doing nothing. other than identifying myself during a demonstration, which you are not really meant to. The police can't go into a demonstration and ask you to identify. That's actually making you, you actually have the right to be in a demonstration without lifting around a sign saying who you are. So these police people arrested me, took me to the detention, and they just gave me a good beating in the detention. A very good beating, yes. A beating, so I was lying naked on the floor, bleeding when they went out. And the two of them who arrested me was the ones doing the beating. The two guys who was in the detention already when we arrived were just standing in the door and looking. And between 20 and 25 times I said, I'm not doing, I tried to keep my dignity in that case, I'm not resisting anything, but they just kept on, they pretended I was resisting. So they were sitting on top of me, making so I couldn't breathe, and making so all my legs, and then because when you are getting arrested in Denmark and you are opposed to the system, or part of, or if you are arrested for drugs or something like that, then they need to make sure that you haven't put drugs up the back hole. So they need to test that, and that was the excuse for all the violence. Even my shirt was torn, but I was lying naked on the floor when they went laughing, completely violent psychopath. That's what they were. They look normal. They look nice. You know, oh, I could have a beer with these guys, but like total psychopath. Completely.
But you won't.
I won't do that today. Well, I actually met them half a year later or so. They were standing on the sidewalk, and I was riding on I think I was driving the car, and two others, we came back from a demonstration or so, and then I just opened the window. Hello, the two of you, have you beat up someone lately? And then one of them, he recognized me, and they just pretended they were, arresting somebody else or something like that. So they were, yeah. I wanted to do that, but I didn't because I didn't want another beating. But anyway, so the Danes are highly protected by the wording of the Constitution. Well, if we actually read the Constitution, there is not much protection in it. For instance, you have the freedom of speech, unless there's a law saying otherwise. That's what it says in the Constitution. All the laws, all the freedoms that is giving, the rights that are giving to the public in the Constitution, they are with an amendment, and the amendment is unless the government has made a rule that has taken that freedom away. And that has happened increasingly, unfortunately, over the years, and now it's near totalitarian, technocratic system. Not really there yet, but if we don't do something, and I think we should, then we will be in a technocracy. Hence, David Hughes, Jacob Nordengard, and Patrick Wood. They're very good writing books and all about technocracy. So I recommend their books, and the Omnivore symposium that they're doing later this spring. EU strengthens the Danish constitutional state and supplements the Folketing, the parliament. And that might not be the reality, so let's look into it. This one, we looked a little bit we looked a little bit upon it yesterday. So why am I going into religion right now? I'm not trying to convert you. On the contrary, I'm just trying to tell you where laws are coming from. Where are the laws coming from? How have we come to accept 2,000, maybe 3,000, maybe even 5,000 years later, just to come to accept as law infringing on the birthright that we have? Everybody is born free. Everybody is born a sovereign person, a sovereign being. If you take a fox a little animal that is born here in Sweden, of course everybody accepts it as being a fox, and the right to feed, and the right to hunt, and the right to live, and the right to be. It's the same with human beings. So we shouldn't accept laws that are infringing of this, and in particular not if we haven't acknowledged the law, and if we haven't been have full disclosure of what the law actually means for us. So if we go back to year 0. We have Jesus was born around year 0, so the story goes, and approximately 30 or something years later, he dies on the cross, and then his disciples write these Gospels, the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and we have the Acts of the Apostles, and this is actually meant to be at least a first-hand description of what happened. And early Christianity is all about this. That's what it's all about, the message of Jesus, the message of freedom, the message of truth, and the message of love. That's what it's all about. And early Christianity, it's like it's just spreading with the speed of fire. It goes so wide all over the place. Even in the 3rd century, we have Arius, a sort of a bishop, or not really a bishop, but a priest or someone who advocates the real message of Jesus. It's called Arianism. It's very hard to come about descriptions of Arianism in our history books today, but nonetheless, even in the Nordic countries, we were affected of this spreading of the word of Jesus. So we got, and this one we talked about yesterday, how the Silver Bible in Uppsala came to be what it is. It's very interesting. If you haven't been to Uppsala and you haven't gone into the library of the university, it's I think you should really take the trip and learn by yourself what is Christianity really about. Without all the Catholicism and the Protestantism, which is just Catholicism 2.0, where you bring up some old books and select them, and the way these old books are selected is in the Council of Nicaea and the Synod of Hippo, where the creed is made, the Christian creed, and the Bible is canonized. That is, which chapters in this book is part of the book, and that is done allegedly here in 393. Justinian's book is from Corpus Juris Civilis. This is a very important book because it sort of forms the base of European and Middle Eastern societies. In that time we got the Toledo Council, where Spain is Catholicized, and we have got Germany Catholicized, making sure that all the other countries are Catholicized. Hence they invade. That's the emperor who invades England. Wilhelm, the conqueror, invades England and invokes Christianity. Not actually because they were Christian already. He invokes Catholicism in England when he invades, and the same is done in Denmark. It's not really an invasion, but the king king makes an agreement to be Catholicized, and then you get some perks on the side, and then he has to make sure that the Danes are obeying to the Christian Bible. Same sort of things happens in Norway and Sweden. Then we got the Reformation. We got nothing but wars after this loving message of Jesus is fought upon for at least 100 years, very hard. Before that, we actually have the Quran, the first script of the Quran, the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh. So you see, even though they're meant to be much older, it's not really so old. So maybe that's what I talked about yesterday. There's something fishy here. What I really want to put your attention to is this one of these many peace agreements after all these wars in Europe. Protestants and Catholics, kings and emperors and dukes and so on, they're fighting each other. In one of the pieces here of Augsburg, in the peace document, it says cuius regio eius religio, which means the one who rules is the one who decides the faith of the people. So he decides the religion. So this is a great way if you think about it. If you are a Christian pope and you think, oh, we are not doing so well in Europe right now, why don't we make a reformation? We make people fight each other, and then when the peace process comes, we tell everybody that we respect the others, but we divide the countries, and then you've only got that religion in that country. So that means if you are an Aryan, or you are following Islam, or you're following any other things, then you are being probably hanged or burned or prosecuted or whatever. That's what happened. That's really what happened, and that's how we came to follow a lot of laws, because Christians are not very good at seeing through what the Bible in reality is. Jesus said, if we're meant to believe this message, that the Gospels, he said that this is your new pact. This is the new way of following and meeting your God. And that's the New Testament. And the Old Testament is just a story leading up to this. So Jesus weren't preaching the Old Testament, he was preaching the New Testament, but the church makes the whole thing one package, and in that package you've got the 313 laws of the book of Moses. I can't remember what it's called in English. I'm not sure it's book of Moses, but this is the first part of the Torah. There's 613 laws to abide, and that's what the Jews are trying to follow, and even the Christians, apparently Christians can't take these things apart. They don't know what the old pact and the new pact is, so a lot of Christians are confusing this as well. But this is great if you are an emperor or somebody else who wants to have power over the people, because laws are good, and this is how we are all brainwashed to think that laws are protecting you, like they said in Germany, in Nazi Germany, für ihre Sicherheit. We are doing this for the safety of you. It's for your safety. It's not because we like to. We're doing this for your safety. We're taking away the Jews, putting them in concentration camps for your safety. Are you happy now? And then, there's not really anything to be happy about, putting people in concentration camps. But this is how it's done. So, I said before that lawyers are not loyal to their customers, or their clients, as they like to refer to. there's a reason for this, because there's also a reason for many people thinking that their lawyer is actually loyal to them, because they're paying them a lot of money. So if you pay someone a lot of money, you'd suspect that they will stick up for you in court. This is not what happens in reality, and the reason is that the Advokatsamfundet in Denmark, the Danish Bar and Law Society, is part of the international bar society. And if you haven't heard about the international bar society, I don't blame you. It's not that it's a very, very interesting thing, but it is important to understand why laws are taking the place of common sense, because why are we are here. Because it's often the system in England is referred to as Roman law, and in England, doesn't matter. In England, they made a bar association. It's based on Roman law, and they also have a concept called canonized. It's a canonized law. It's a canon law. So that means we're making up the law along the way by common sense in the bar. So really, the bar. I need to show you what the bar is, because most people will probably say, "What is the bar? What is he talking about?" And I've got a brilliant picture in my book that describes exactly what the bar is and exactly what kind of theater is taking place. Yeah, here I go. So this is a picture of an old Roman open theater, or really en domstol. It's really a picture from Belgium, where they were settling disagreement between the people in the public, or the public and the authorities, and that is called a bar. It looks like something that you tie your horse to, but what happens in one side of the bar is that there's certain theatrical people that is part of that theater, and all the rest, and that's you and me, we can be onlookers and we can see what is going on, but we cannot participate. And just to make the theater complete, sometimes they even put wigs on and ropes on, and it's a big theater that is taking place. I showed you the picture yesterday of Circus Maximus and all these other bread and what's it called? Circus. Yeah, bread and circus for the people, exactly, thank you. So this is what it is. It is giving people the sense that your saying and your rights are important, when reality, that's not important. It's not important to anybody. What is important is that the system is working, and that you are getting back to work as quickly as possible. So the bar association, the one that controls this Roman law concept, used to be in London. They moved it some 100 years ago to the US. So the Danish Bar Association at this point in time is referring to the International Bar Association. And I haven't looked into it. I will put all my savings this month on that. If you look into it, the Swedish Bar Association is part of the International Bar Association, and as such, like in Denmark, it's probably an international Andrew Crichton, who is the Secretary General of the local society. That's typically that can be how they do it. So that means that all the lawyers have to by law in Denmark, be part of the Danish Bar Association. And that means that if they do not obey to the rules when they are taking the proceedings on in this theater that is the bar, and it's still like that today. If you go into a Danish courtroom, there will be an invisible, sometimes, line where you are not allowed to enter. Here we only have the judges, maybe the juror, and we have the complainant and the accused, and we have the witness that are allowed into the witness box, and that's it. No one else is allowed. And that's how they do it. And if you're a lawyer, when you sit there in a proceeding where your professional life might even depend on what the judges say at the end of here, you will find that your judge won't do what's best for you. Your judge will do what's best for his career. He didn't study 7-8 years to spend it all just because you want justice in your case. He won't do that. He will follow the rules. He will follow the winks from the judges and from the Advocate Samfund, the Bar Association, and he would do what is necessary. The same will the judge. And anyway, in Denmark, most of these judges and police, also the police is the prosecutor in many cases, they are in these secret organizations, this masonry organization. Typically, many of them are. It's a waning thing. It's not as outspoken as it was before, because you've got numerous other secret organizations, subtle ways of controlling the people and the judges and the policemen and whatnot. So it's not necessary to do it through masonry. So masonry is getting a waning role, a falling role in all of this. But it used to be a big role in it. So did I miss? No, let's see. So courts for the people and by the people, not so much. I think the courts require citizens to be represented by a solicitor in legal proceedings. I've been in a court case where I tried actually it was my best friend. He was a policeman for 14 years. They were trying to disgrace him and kick him out of the police. I was helping him as his representative. There was also a lawyer, which he asked not to come, but the court said, if your lawyer is not here, we cannot proceed. And even though he said, well, I don't care, they still called in the lawyer, and the lawyer was sitting there next to my friend, and he was going like, go away. No, I won't go away. I have to be, it says in the law, I need to be, I'm your lawyer. And he was like, I don't want you. So in the end, he was, of course, sentenced. He was, of course, disgraced. He was finished he was kicked out of the police, and during the proceedings we actually got another accusations against us. So later on I was evicted. I got a sentence of 10 days in prison, but it was conditioned, so I never spent 10 days in 7 days in prison, so I never spent those days in prison, but I actually got a sentence just for being his bystander in the court. That's how the Danish court system is. If you're not on the authorities' side, you are done and done for. The Bar Association was established in 1990 when it was enshrined in the Administration of Justice Act. I'm talking about Denmark. So it was enshrined in a law making it like this, that all the lawyers have to be members of this Bar Association. And I'm 99.9% sure it's the same in Sweden without having looked it up. It's not that they are showboating it on their homepage, but as you can see here, it's there. It is there. The Bar Association copies the international bar system, and Yeah, that's just in Denmark we are part of the EU, and every time the EU make a regulation, like as soon as the ink has settled on the paper, then it's law in Denmark. So they make a law in Brussels, and that becomes a law in Denmark without anyone questioning it. We have 5,000 of these still counting, because they are just coming in. So welcome to the Union, Sweden. So the legal fiction, the reality is courts, police, prosecutors and government have been infiltrated by a power cartel, an international banking cartel, the noble and royal families, Masonic lodges, which are just part of this noble and royal families, and often controlled by, in Denmark, the king. I think 4 or 5 kings were the Grand Master of the Danish Masonic lodge. In the industrial upper class, that's within the last 200 years, we've got the Wallenbergs all over the world coming up and participating together with Rothschild, Hambros, participating in this noble and royal families who used to have the power. The people, the noble families is typically the families that owns the country, and that can be a good thing because they can be locally focused, and most people want friendly neighbors and so on. So a lot of these nobilities are vouching for let's say good things happening in their areas, but as a whole the nobilities have put in the Bernadottes here in Sweden in power and chosen the Wallenberg to be their banking masters, and hence keeping all the people ignorant to what is really taking place. And of course we've got the political upper class, where the big shining star of this in Sweden is of course Carl Bildt, as I showed before. All of the above elements of the power cartel are internationally controlled. The judges and lawyers in the legal system are only loyal to the bar, not you as a client. It's very important for you, if you have to go to the court system, that you understand this fact. If you don't understand it, you will hear E and O and R from your lawyer before, and he will tell you that he's a superman, and he will tell you all the things he can make sure you get compensation, and you will be cleared your name and all these things. And then when it doesn't become like that, he'll come up with a bad excuse about a law many years ago that has affected the judge or whatever. It is a theater. A defense lawyer, for example, is not loyal to his client, but to the bar system. He's even paid directly. If it's a criminal case in Denmark, he's paid directly by the system. They simply just assign you one. But they might actually make you pay for it afterwards. And they say, if the judge rules and he goes like, yeah, you're sentenced so and so much to prison, and you also have to pay for all these days of proceedings. So you have to pay your lawyer, you have to pay the judges, you have to pay the jurors and whatnot. You're toasted. You're toasted if you go against the system. I recommend not to go against the system. I recommend that you understand the system and be smarter than the system. Avoid the system as much as possible. Sometimes you can actually use the system to your advantage, because there's some things that do make sense, as with all other things in this system. The EU does not grant any human rights. I said that shortly before. The European Commission on Human Rights, I think it's the European Commission of Human Rights, and it's meant to say EMD, the European court in The Hague. They fall under the Council of Europe. What is the Council of Europe? It's a total separate organization from the EU. So just by becoming a member of the EU, you Swedes are not getting any protection under these human rights. You might already think you are protected, and then when you look into all these laws about the human rights, they say you have a right so and so, unless there's laws that say that you don't have those rights. It's the same theater all over again. So that's the legal. That's basically the legal fiction, and of course the constitutions are. Yeah, that's just the Danish constitution. It's not giving any human rights. Your human rights are literally a city in Russia. It's just something we pretend. It really is. So reality, the courts are subdivision of an international bar system. Lawyers are only loyal to the bar system. Police carry out the elite's business. They don't work for the people. Most people think, oh, I pay the police, so they work for me. No. They wouldn't beat you up if they worked for you. Police carry out the elite's police business. Even in Denmark, they call it police business. Every time they're out. And if you're like, if someone is getting arrested and you're trying to intervene and say, what is going on? And the police say, it's police business, step away. That's what they say in Danish, of course. Politiforretning, step away. Police business. They're quite open about this. You gotta let them. You gotta let them that. The wording of the Constitution means very little in legal practice, as it is interpreted. That's in Denmark. Even though there's a constitution, and even though it doesn't have all the protection that it's meant to, the Danish Folketing, the Danish Parliament, has even made an interpretation of this, how you should interpret the Constitution, and then it becomes an even bigger theater. The Constitution and the EU grant almost no human rights to Danes. The EU has the highest rank as legislator, while the Danish Parliament has second rank. This is important to understand. This means that if this is Denmark and someone decides all the laws in Denmark, we can call it X, and they will, let's just say like 35% of everything is covered here. Then there's 75, then there's 25% left, and Y is actually deciding what the rest is. X is EU. They have the upper hand in deciding the laws of Denmark. Y, that is the Danish Parliament. The Danish Parliament can decide laws in all the areas where the EU haven't already decided. Do you understand what I'm saying? So EU is the first highest rank legislator. It's the EU that has the power when it comes to law in Denmark. Secondary is the Danish Parliament, and they can only make laws in the holes where the EU hasn't already done laws. Because they don't talk a lot about this in the press, unfortunately. I think they should, because this is facts. It's the way it is. But yeah, we're being taken for a ride again. So back to Sweden. There was something about Grundlovs entering recently, criticized as a threat to democracy. Where I've heard this before. This is a threat to democracy. Constitutional amendment criticized as a threat to democracy. Next week, the constitutional amendment on foreign espionage may be voted through in the Riksdag. A threat to democracy and freedom of expression, write representatives of several media outlets on Dagens Nyheters debate page. So they are pretending that this new law is meant for the security of Sweden, working together with other intelligence of other countries, and at the same time they are infringing on the personal freedom of the Swedes. And that's the kind of law that are going through parliaments in Denmark and Sweden at a very fast pace, taking away freedom from the people. And that's how you arrive at democracy if it isn't stopped. So, that was 2 fictions, and I'll take you through the last and actually the foremost fiction of them all. Because if there's one of these 3 fictions, the democratic fiction, the juridical fiction, the legal fiction, and the economic fiction, it's the economic fiction that is the most important. It's where it all comes from. Just take it, we'll do it like this. Is Denmark/Sweden. So every time I say Denmark now, think /Sweden. A rich, independent, stable, economically robust country, or is Denmark, Danish-Swedish economy controlled by non-Danish, non-Swedish interest? Let's look into it. So the illusion is we are one of the richest countries in the world, and our population enjoys the highest standard of living in the world. Politicians are in control of the Danish national economy. The Danish economy is robust and sustainable. Yeah. We're the most dirty people in the world. We're using resources, nature's resources, at a speed they've never even thought about in Thailand or in China or in all these developing countries. We are the worst scum of the scum when it comes to protecting nature. But we still think we are sustainable. That's quite interesting. Globalism helps Denmark achieve a higher standard of living. Oh yes, then I can go on holidays to Bangkok in Thailand. That's great if I can't find a Swedish wife and so on. People think it's great that they can go to the Alps on holidays and so on. Yes, it is. It's great that the world is smaller. It's great that we can connect to each other beyond borders. Because borders are a strange thing. I live in Copenhagen, and when I sit and look at the map, and I go Copenhagen here, Malmö, Sweden over here, and there's a dotted line going through the waters between Denmark and Sweden. That dotted line means that people are different over here. They're different people. They speak differently. They are strange. They're really, really mad. On the other side, if you're over here, you get told the same things. On the other side of that dotted line, people are strange. People speak very strangely, and people, they're not the same. Stay in Sweden because this is madness. Can you see, when we identify with our nationality, I'm not saying that we shouldn't identify with where we're from, we should be proud of where we are from, but when we use this to make the others the bad guys, that's what it gets wrong. And the elite has for many years invoked dotted lines throughout the world and made us fight each other, which means, many of you probably know this. If you have a jar here, a glass jar, and you put red ants and black ants, 2 different types of ants in this jar, they will live peacefully together. But if you start shaking the jar, they will attack each other. And that's how they do it. And that's what nationalities are used for. So globalism is good in the way that it breaks down nationalities, and at the same time they're still using the nationalities. Attack Iran! Iran is a terrorist organization. It's attack them. Attack Greenland. Oh, Greenland. Yeah, that's another. Let's not go down that route. But you know, it's so easy to make people dislike each other and fight each other, and eventually let them go to war, like we are seeing right now in Ukraine. Totally useless, unnecessary war of people that are really brothers, are really the same, but you know, because the elite tells them to, then they're fighting each other, they're killing each other. Many Ukrainians won't kill Russians, so they get Swedes and Danes and all other countries to come and get killed on their behalf. I don't mind them, I would do the same, because it's a war that does not by any measure make sense. So the National Bank primarily safeguards the Danish economy. That's also what we're being told. What's the reality? Well, the Danish state is a very well-run enterprise that is good at making money, which is good because I'm a Dane, so I get lots of money, don't I? Yeah. Think again, Fleming. Dream again. The Danish people are the world's poorest. You're not going to believe me, are you? If I tell you that the Danes are the poorest in the world? No, that's not what we are being told. We are the poorest in the world along with the Dutch. There's no other countries that are indebted like the Danes. I'm not even talking about the state, I'm talking about the private peoples of Denmark. They are indebted to a level that makes them poorer than any Thai or Chinese or whatever. And if you don't believe me, talk to some of the scholars from Danish, what's it called, the Danish Economic University, Handelshøjskolen. I have a very good friend, Ole Bjerg. He's actually helped me also write this book, and he was the one who pointed this to me. So if you make up the accounts, the Danes owe much less than the Danes own much less than they owe to the bank. So we are the poorest nation in the country. I suspect the Swedes are somewhere in the top there as well. But along with the Dutch, we are the poorest. We do not know for sure whether Denmark would be more prosperous today without the US, NATO, EU, UN and the World Bank system. I suspect it would be much more transparent what is going on, and if there's transparency and an honesty, then there might be more justice to the system, and there might just also be much richer, both in a spiritual way, in a personal, in all sense. I think we would be much richer and much more prosperous if it wasn't for all those big organizations. Remember, they all came after a war, the Second World War, that was instigated by the First World War, that was instigated about some dynasties, and it's just crazy. So 2 world wars with millions of killings, and afterwards we make these in NATO, EU, UN, and World Bank system. We make these out of the necessity of keeping the world without wars. And what has happened since then? There's been nothing but wars. What are we doing right now? NATO is warring against Russia in Ukraine. What did the UN do about a genocide in Palestine and Gaza? Nothing. Did nothing. They did nothing. a genocide which was televised for everybody to sit and say, oh, this is crazy, somebody should do something about it. The thing is, that somebody we all think are these organizations. They're doing nothing for the people, they're doing nothing for our rights, even though it's Palestinians or Arabs or follower of the Islam, or it's Christians, or it's Jews, or it doesn't matter. They're doing nothing for the people. They are doing everything for the elite that controls them, and that's where the cat is, or the dog is buried, so to speak. So the central bank system is the core of the power cartel, consisting of a globalist elite that controls the world. I think I have a slide about this. Institutional investors own virtually the entire Western world. It's not public knowledge who control these institutional investors. Let's just look into this. Danish National Bank, founded after the state bankruptcy, go off the standard. We're talking money here. So when money was real, that means that, or nearly real, that means that when a money note was actually worth some gold or some silver in the bank, and you could go in and exchange it for some gold or silver. That meant it was easy to carry around, and in some sense it makes sense. When we left the gold standard and the silver standard, that was when money became immaterialized. Denmark is in huge steps. Rothschild, Hambro, and the Wallenberg set up in Sweden. We've already talked about this. In 1897, J.P. Morgan saved the U.S. from crisis, and again they do it 10 years later. And if that wasn't enough, they still had to kill off the Astor, the Guggenheim, and the Strauss. So J.P. Morgan invites them all on his ship for the maiden journey, and in the last minute he says, "Oh, sorry, I can't make it myself. Have a nice journey," and then he sinks the ship, or someone sinks the ship. An iceberg sinks the ship, and he, unfortunately, don't feel too sorry for J.P. Morgan, because he had insured his ship enormously, so he actually earned money from this. So what also happened is that the most adverse people with adverse positions to this new federal demonic monster was killed in the instance. And then you have saved the way for the Federal Reserve Act, the Jekyll Island Act. And then we've got some laws forbidding the hoarding of gold. That's just what I talked about yesterday. They will come after your gold. They will come after your silver. They will come after all of your possessions. So, make sure it's not available to the authorities when they do come after this. And that means if you don't have too many receipts on this, and if you don't have a safe in the middle of the house that they can just go in and get a locksmith to open, then they will actually have to start digging up your garden and your basement and your summer house and all this. Make sure you are wiser than the system, because this is what will happen. It's happened before, it's going to happen again. We got the Dematerialization Act by the CIA. We got the Depository Trust Company founded. This is in the US. In the EU, it's called CSDR. It's the same thing. It's a bit later, but it's all to immaterialize, to dematerialization and digitalization of all that is valuable. That means everything needs to be in paper, or even better than that, we digitalize the papers and put them into a system. So you'll own nothing, but you'll be so happy because you can always rent something if we allow you to do so. This has been happening over a long period. This is very documented. This is public knowledge. Well, it's public knowledge in the way it's easy for you to go and look for yourself that all these things that I'm stating today is actually for real. And hence, whenever I write books, I make a lot of references to where I get the information from. So we just got a slide here of the Swedish members of, remember this one? ERT? European Roundtable of Industry. There's roundtables and have been roundtables for something like 30-40 years since the time of Cecil Rhodes that I talked about yesterday. And one of these roundtables is here in Europe for industry, and Michael Johansson became the last new member of the Swedish contingent. Oh, we got Mr. Wallenberg here, and then we got Volvo. It's interesting. Wallenberg here, he owns both Saab and Ericsson, so he sits with 3 votes. And Volvo is a bit different, owned by someone else. So, in reality, Federal Reserve System, which was instigated by Morgan. Morgan was a Rothschild offshoot to the US. The Rothschild and the Morgans of the world, they own by stealth, that means by secrecy, the BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, which is institutional holders of shares. So they own the majority of the big companies. They own a majority of the shares, which means they are in power when it comes to what all these companies that are listed on the different exchanges are doing. And hence, because they do that from tech to airlines, their control extends far beyond money. It's about owning the world. So 3 companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, that basically, literally owns the world. That's what the federal system have done for you. You should thank the federal system for this situation. And if you disagree, then you should turn to them, turn to the federal system. So really, Denmark is one of the richest? No, not really. Denmark state collects high revenues from the population, taxes and so on, but in reality, the population is the most indebted in the world. Politicians are in control of the Danish national economy? No. The politicians know nothing. You know what? I've been standing on the porch of Parliament in Denmark, and I've been asking the politicians when they're walking into the Parliament and voting about important laws and so on. They know nothing. They literally don't know. They're asking, how are you going to vote if you don't know anything about the subject? I'm getting a bit impatient with them sometimes, and they're going like, well, they will tell me on the group meeting we have before going in to vote. Yeah, they tell me this on tape. They don't mind. This is how it's done. They're open about it. The Danish economy is not particularly robust and by no means sustainable. We are the dirtiest swines on this planet. Globalism is destroying Denmark and the rest of the world. It is. That's hence the people in power are destroying it the most. The National Bank of Denmark is controlled by the International Central Bank System. Luckily, the Russians are not part of the system. Or are they? They are. Russia, they're put on hold, but they're still. The Bank of International Settlements is the central bank of central banks. The Russian bank is also part of this. So hence, they're still piping gas through Ukraine. Did you know that? They're still piping gas through Ukraine, 5-6 under the ground, and on top of the ground. Soldiers from each side is fighting each other. because of money. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. And the craziest thing is that we buy all this. Denmark is often portrayed as a role model for other countries. And here, just exchange Sweden, because I haven't had time to look into all the details. Exchange Denmark with Sweden. So is this a fair assumption? The reality is we are not so happy. It actually, if you have a high standard of living, then you score high in this happiness index. Is another fraudulent measurement. Denmark creates war in the world. We have participated, I'm ashamed to say so, in wars in Balkans, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Ukraine. We've had many UN missions also to Africa and so on. This is increasingly being taken over by the EU. EU is making those kind of UN missions, especially in Africa. And the French are on top of this because they want Africa back. Globalism is causing Denmark and the world to disintegrate. Major wars are looming. We are being threatened with war between the America and Russia, the America and Iran, America and China. And if they need to control you, the people, us, the people, they will just rattle the sables and make us all fear a nuclear weapon, worse than Hiroshima, worse than the firebombs that they threw over Hiroshima. But it's just that they can threat the population with this. That's enough, and then they will make the population do whatever they want. And of course we're not sustainable. And the news press is controlled by industry and the Prime Minister's office, at least how it is in Denmark. It might be another minister here in Sweden. So I think I went a little over time, but then again we had a bit of a longer break, so I hope you bear with me, and that was what I had for you today.